Let's go. Yo. Get up, nah, I ain't a quitter. Toss me the ball, I'm a really big hitter. Big picture, I'm a straight killer. Rising the song to the highest bidder. Got juice, got gas, I'ma move fast. New shoes, new tracks, like who's that? I'm new, come back, better than last. Yeah, it's a new me, never gonna look back. Never gonna look back. Cause damn, I was built to last. You move slow and I move fast. And that's facts.
Well. Good evening. How's everybody doing out there? Do really appreciate you guys tuning in to the Chicago Sports Podcast tonight. I'm the Bishop. We got Darius as well as Michael in the house tonight. And first of all, to everybody out there, thank you very much for chiming in and watching us tonight. Do us one big favor, please, for all those that's watching via YouTube. Please make sure you guys hit that like button, subscribe, and share this content because this content is for you, and without you, it would not be it would not be us. I'm a little, I guess, kind of taken back by all these rumors and things that's going on out here amongst media and everybody in the podcast world when it comes to our Chicago Bears. So that's what we're going to kick off tonight. Actually, tonight we're going to talk about all the different rumors out there. There's one big one, and I'm trying to decide whether we're going to kick off with that one or if we're going to hold that one to the end. I think we're going to go ahead and get the show started with that one. That is this big rumor that's Mr. McCaskey rejected Bill Belichick as potentially being a Bears candidate for interview to be the head coach. We're going to keep this going. We're going to go clockwise in this order to pretty much just keep everything live. So, Darius, I'm going to let you kick that off, man. I'm going to round it out at the end. But, Darius, what you think about that, man? Do you think there's any truth to the matter that, one, Bill Belichick was interested in being the head coach of the Chicago Bears, but more importantly, did McCaskey actually reject or, in some cases, block him from being interviewed? What's your thoughts?
Well, first and foremost, I think he was very much so interested. This is a very attractive situation here in Chicago, regardless of what's going on with the dysfunction of the up top of the organization. This is a very attractive job. Um, as far as the McCaskies, either blocking or vetoing the fact that they would even try to give him an interview or show him any interest themselves, I would hope not. But excuse me, are we really surprised? I mean, especially based off the fact of what happened last year with Jim Harbaugh. Anybody that can set culture, it seems like the higher ups in the organization are intimidated by. So I mean, I would love to think differently, but I mean, if it happened like you said it, like the rumor says, then I wouldn't be surprised. Very unfortunate though. Especially the times that we are in as an organization, these are desperate times. And after this, it could be a lot of people jobs on the line, up top, so it's unfortunate if the rumor's true, but I'm not surprised.
Mike, what you say?
Yeah. First, before I get into it, just what's up to everyone in the chat. See everyone in there. Thanks for coming out again Thursday night. I'm looking at the game right now. It's not very interesting between the Rams and 49ers. Every time I look, someone's punting. So appreciate you guys spending your Thursday night with us here at the Chicago Sports Podcast. But I think kind of bouncing off what Darius said, I wouldn't be surprised, right? I mean, this is the Bears we're talking about. When you have a guy like Belichick who has all the accolades, they'll find some excuse to not bring him in or just not even give him a chance. I don't think it's true though. I don't think it's true. I think what more than likely happened with Belichick and the Bears and kind of how he ended up in North Carolina, the coaching hire cycle. Like college, you have to get your guy now. There's teams, but none of those guys are firing their coaches. The time to hire now in college is right now. And Belichick wants to get into coaching. If he wanted to wait for the NFL, where the Bears might not even consider him, it'd be a big risk where he passes up missing out on college, where he obviously ended up in North Carolina, which I think that's more in part what he ended up having to deal with was the just difference in hiring cycle between the two different sports. And that's kind of, I think, more than happened. But like Darius said, I wouldn't be surprised if he asked the Bears, could I get an interview? And McCaskey said, no, not here.
Hmm.
It's funny you say that. Both of you guys, actually. I'm gonna be honest. I'm not gonna lean into that as much as I would say this. In all honesty, I'm not quite sure if Belichick really wanted to be a part of this. And the reason why I say that is I think Belichick kind of realizes that for him, being in the NFL not one at his age, but more importantly, the level of control that he's accustomed to having, he knew that he would
Mhm.
not have that with the Chicago Bears. As attractive as it may be because of the quarterback that we have, along with the roster itself, Belichick is a guy who, if you think about it, for the last 20 plus years, he's had complete control with New England. So
Yeah.
why would he want to take a job where he would be relinquishing a good portion of that control? Now, I could be wrong. Maybe he just wanted to, maybe he would have just preferred just to be able to coach. But a guy like Belichick, the old saying, a leopard never changes his spots. If
Yeah.
you're accustomed to having control, it's very difficult to go back and say, okay, you know what? I'm just going to coach. You guys do all the selecting of the players. You guys do everything else. I'll have my little bit of input as a head coach. I just don't think there's much credence to it myself. Besides, I think if that was the case, we'd have heard a lot more rumblings on the national circuit than
Hmm.
we are on the local circuit. So I'm going to say no with regard to the McCaskies blocking him, as much as I don't think he was as interested because he
Hmm.
knew he was not going to be able to have the level of control that he's accustomed to. That's just my thought on it.
And I respect that thought a great deal, but let's think about it like this, Bishop. Okay, he was fired from the Patriots. Like, let's not forget that, right? I don't think he.
Okay.
I mean, it wasn't your typical firing. Of course,
Right.
they made it look like he just kind of walked away and bowed out or whatever. But in all, what I'm saying, all honestly, he was fired from the Patriots. So you can't leave a situation that you were fired from and automatically pick back up, with the same things from a different situation. I honestly
Gotcha.
feel like he understood what he was coming into. With, like, if he decided to either interview or join the Bears, I think he understood what he was going to get into. But his main thing, and I think his greatest attribute is a person that moves the culture, the culture of the locker room, the culture of the players on the field. That thing, I think once he got in, he'll see how those guys up top run run things, and he can make his own personal alterations to what he need to do. But I think he's a culture builder, number one, because that's what you have to sustain success. You have to have great culture. But it's unfortunate if the rumor's true. Like I said, I can't say that enough.
You know what? I'm not to skip over you, Mike. I got to throw this in here
No,
really
you're
quick,
good. You're
guys.
good.
Um, me personally, this is just my take also on something that I thought about, and I was not going to say this, but I'm gonna go ahead and say it. I think Belichick had hit a point in his career in terms of coaching in the NFL where it seemed that the game had kind of passed him up, kind
Mm-hmm.
of evolved beyond his ideology when it comes to coaching. I think it's going to be even more interesting the fact that he's going to college to
Mm-hmm.
coach, because now you got to be more of a personality, because you got to do more recruiting. You got to be in these living rooms. You got these kids. Now you're dealing with NIL. You got so many different levels to college football now, or
Mm-hmm.
college sports period, but we're talking about football. So college football, where NIL is really affecting the college ranks in terms of guys coming and going. You're every year you're having to re-recruit the guys that's already on your team, because if they have any level of success, they're getting offered some type of bag.
Yeah.
Everybody's not getting offered $1 million, but guys are getting offered a couple 100,000 to stick around. So uh, Bill being Bill, it's going to be interesting to see how he adjusts to that. Being in the college ranks. So this is the whole landscape is is changing both at the professional level and the college level. So it's going to be interesting with regard to Bill Belichick, who I have high regard for in terms of
Yeah.
his coaching, the things that he's accomplished over the years. Um, I wouldn't have minded had he been the coach with the Chicago Bears, but
Right.
I'm at a point right now when it comes to coaching. I'm kind of tired of the retreads. I would really like to see some younger, fresh blood jump in and take over, and be able to have, their opportunity at the NFL level. Now I'm not saying that there's got to be younger guys coming from college, but at least some
Hmm.
of these guys that's been coordinators for the past, decade or so, that deserve opportunities to at least be a head coach as well as coordinators. If
Yeah.
they were just assistants and other thing in different levels. um that's just me. But there's another rumor that's going around, guys, that I gotta jump on here. There's been a rumor the last couple of days going around that's saying that all of a sudden now it seems that maybe Ryan Poles is becoming a little disgruntled and not liking the power structure at Hallis Hall, and it's a possibility that maybe, just maybe, at the end of his contract, instead of him renewing his contract, he may prefer to move on. Now, I found that to be quite interesting, especially after the last um, interview, not interview, but when they had the yeah, you might as well call it an interview with him and Kevin Warren. And it just seemed like Ryan Poles just wasn't his usual jovial self,
Yeah.
and it's almost like he kind of might have got a little scolding, and then had to sit there and sit through that. So let's jump on that. What's your thoughts, guys? Darius, what you think? You know what? I'm gonna let Mike jump in first on this one for the simple fact I
Hmm.
had jumped over him. So Mike, you know, what's your thoughts on it? Do you think that it might be any truth to that at all?
Yeah, yeah. First, before I get into the answer, he actually got a super chat from Last King of Scotland. So he gave $2. So thanks a lot. Thanks for the support. And he
Whoa,
said, "Go,
yes, thank
go."
you.
Yeah, thank you a lot, Last King of Scotland. That means a lot. And go coach them past the bye, or let the game pass him by. Crazy. Yeah. I mean, I think that's just kind of how the sports go. Like
It
we
happens.
see in every sport. The good ones, they're good for, or they're elite when they're good. And but again, games evolve. Everything evolves. Games evolve as well. And that's just kind of how sports go. And we remember them for being good when they were good, but eventually it's time for the new cats to get in. But
Hmm.
thanks again for the donation. But we get
Yes, thank you.
back on back on track with Ryan Poles. And yeah, I think it's definitely possible because I don't think Poles should be too comfortable. Like I didn't like Kevin Warren saying he's going to be here in the next cycle, like almost commanding him. I thought he should be on a little bit more of a hot seat than maybe Kevin Warren indicated that he is. But I also think he's also a little bit on a hot seat, maybe in terms of what he's allowed to do. Like I think his what do I want to say? Like how much control he has, maybe
Yeah.
is the right word, over like some of the football decisions might be getting taken away from him. I think that's maybe what Warren's indicating, and that he's going to overstep. I'm not sure how that's exactly going to work, but yeah, I think it's definitely possible. And I think Warren kind of indicated that in the interview that he's going to start taking a larger role in football operations moving forward. And if Poles doesn't like that, it could. We've already seen dysfunction in the Bears. I can't imagine it gets worse, but we might somehow see that.
Darius, what's your thoughts, man?
Um, Looking at that press conference, I agree with you. Ryan Poles did not look like himself. He didn't look like the confident guy that we all grew to love, in the beginning of his tenure. I think largely because the guy cares. He cares about this team. He cares about the Bears, and he cares about the process that he took in going through with what he went through as far as building the team. He did it. It's tough to say he did it the wrong way. He just didn't do it the traditional way. You know what I mean? He had faith and conviction in the guys on the O line that he did bring in, and he was strong in his conviction when he brought in, when he picked Rome at 9, and when he brought Keenan Allen in. For Poe's seat to be hot, I think that's a little bit of an emotional response. I believe I've said that before, mainly because he's done a lot. He's done a lot of good, in the couple of years that he's been here, and with a guy coming in under the situation that the Bears were in, if you want to judge him by his record, when you're coming in off a rebuild, you're going to lose. You're going to lose. It's not going to be success. And and if it is any success, it's not going to be instant. There's very few times where success is instant into a situation where a coach, a QB, or a GM comes in the process of rebuilding the team. So I wouldn't judge him by his record, but the only major knock I will have for him is the fact that he did not start from the inside out in building his team. He went and got the Ferrari body or the Mercedes-Benz body and went and got refurbished engines for him. You see what I'm saying? If that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Makes sense.
Meaning that he didn't take care of the trenches like most traditional team builders do. They build from the inside out. He got excited of the fact that he was able to get, these weapons and he get the quarterback that we all needed, here in Chicago. So I think the look on his face was more of disappointment. Now, the fact that Kevin Warren is kind of intervening, and that may give him a sour taste too, but you got to look at it. We give you a chance to do it your way.
Mm-hmm.
And you chose to do it in a way that was unconventional, and it showed on the field. It's affecting us on the field. So now we're going to bring this guy in to assist you. Because he's a young guy. He's a young guy in this game. This is a first-time job for him, being a GM of a team. So he's learning. He's getting some talk sense right now because he's learning from his mistakes. And he came in under one thing, and in fact that Kevin Warren is going to assist him now, that could rub him the wrong way. But if he's a true man and he understands how things work, he can look at this as a lesson.
Mm-hmm.
And those guys can collaborate and make this thing right.
I'm glad you said that, Darius, but let's be honest about something.
Mm-hmm.
Although this is professional sports, although this is the Chicago Bears, let's be realistic, man. In any business structure, there's a chain of command. There's a hierarchy. So to think that he's just going to be able to go directly to the owners versus, say, the CEO or the president, he might have had that for a bit. But let's think about it. Kevin Warren's been there now how long? So I think for Poles, I think if anything else, he was more disappointed in the fact that things did not work out the way he wanted them to, especially with the hiring of Waldron. That went completely left on him.
Yeah.
And then he had established a bit of a relationship with Flus, and I think he really believed that Flus had control of that locker room. But things happen, man. We're talking again. This is when I mean about a game passing people by. I wasn't referring to Bill Belichick in terms of X's and O's. I'm talking about the type of guys that are now in the locker room versus when they were in the locker room 20 years ago, 10 years ago, heck, for that matter, even 5 years ago. You got a totally different type of football player in the locker room now. You got a good portion of guys who all they ever wanted to do was make it to the league. Now that they've made it to the league, they've gotten that contract. Come Sunday, if they're not feeling well, they wake up in the morning, and if their girlfriend made them mad or their wife made them mad, they don't want to play now. I don't mean necessarily a game passing a guy by due to X's and O's. So, I think with Flus is a different type of guy. I think he really tries to be a player's coach, but he lost a good portion of his players for whatever reason. Some may say that it had something to do with how things were handled from the previous QB that was here. And now that we have Caleb, and now Caleb's going through the identical same thing, and I think this is the thing for me. Flus came in and said that they're able to develop players. And I think Ryan bought into that and was disappointed over the fact that they could not, if there's one position they just could not seem to develop, is that offensive line. They could not get guys developed. Braxton Jones has done well, but to say that there's not better left tackles out there, we would be lying. You know,
Yeah.
you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? So when you look at the offensive line, we've struggled when it comes to developing at the offensive line, and that's something that has to be, all the focus must be on that in the offseason. I think the first 3 to 4 picks need to be O-line, period. That's just my take. But we're not going to keep beating that down. When we talk about
I think
when
it's a
go
very
ahead,
real
man.
thing, Bishop. It's a very real thing, and it may seem like we're beating it down, but it's real because I really believe we're one off season of prioritizing the trenches away from being a very good team for a very long time.
I think I agree, Darius, and I think everybody has such high expectations, man.
Yeah,
And the fact that we fell so short of the expectations,
yeah,
you
yeah.
know,
That's a killer, man.
I mean,
That-
and Ryan seems to be the type of guy that wears his heart on his sleeves, and I
yes,
and I and I can connect with that because that's how I am. So
yes,
emotionally, a lot of times you can tell how I'm feeling if you just look at my face, man. My face
yeah,
tells it all, and that was the case with Ryan. You know, he was just not in a great place, man. And I get it, man. Do I want Ryan Poles to be in the crosshairs? Yes, I do, but I don't feel that his seat should be so hot that we should be looking to push him out the building because
yeah,
he's
yeah. That's
he's has he's done more in the draft than any GM we've had previously. I gotta
Here,
give him
Bishop, I don't
credit.
mean to interrupt you real quick, but
Go
we
right
got
ahead.
another
Yeah.
super chat from
All right.
Renetti. Gave $5. Thanks again,
Remy,
Renetti.
thank you,
Remy.
Remy.
Um,
Remy, thank
and
you.
it says,
appreciate you.
"Hey y'all, it's time for an experienced head coach. I do not want Ben Johnson. His personality reminds me of Adam Gase. Give me Mike Vrabel. Bear down. Bear down. Yep.
I'm not as high on Ben Johnson as everybody else is, neither. But it's the flavor of the month, man. And it's that time of year, like when you're a team in the position that the Bears are in, desperation kicks in, and the hot, what I'm saying, the hot chick at the new school, you know what I'm saying, she gonna get all the looks. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So this is that time of
Mm,
year.
you gotta watch
This is
and
that
look.
time.
The hottest chick is the one that you better stay away from. That's all I'm gonna say.
Yeah,
When we
but
talk
hey,
and when we're
it
talking
don't
about
hurt to look,
flavors,
do it? It
oh, you're
don't
gonna
hurt to
look
look,
now.
do.
You're gonna look, but you better stay away. And when we talk about
Yeah,
the flavor of the month, and when we, I'm gonna
yeah.
throw this. Since I like tequila, most people out there when you ask them what type of tequila do you like, oh, I like reposado. I like reposado. Well, have you ever
Uh-huh.
tried Blanco? Have you ever tried Anejo? Uh,
Yeah.
well, not really. Well, how do you know that reposado is the
Yeah.
one if you haven't tried the others? You know what I'm saying? So that's just me. Um, but
I mean,
man,
the one thing we can all agree on is that this is not the time to be trying, anybody new and inexperienced. This is not we're at this time of this franchise is not the time for us to do that. I just don't think
no,
so.
I'm with you. I'm with you, Darius. You know what? This is what I really want to see at head coach. I want to see a man that comes into a building and commands the respect of the players to where the players learn, they get themselves in line, and a culture is built from the top down, take on a personality of his head coach, but more importantly,
Hmm.
I want, because the thing is, and something that I've been kind of paying attention to, and I've heard this kind of bounce around with some previous players that played for the Bears here recently, is the lack of leadership in the locker room. You have
Mhm.
guys that we as fans from the outside think are are the leader in that locker room, but then you kind of find out through little rumblings that there's no real true leader in that locker room. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
there's certain things that has taken place behind the scenes in that locker room that nobody's been able to get control of. And that's why I think Flus was able to at least kind of command a little something in that locker room. You know, now I spoke to somebody today, and I'm actually, I'm even thinking about seeing if I can get him to join the show, because he actually played for Thomas Brown, and he spoke highly of him in terms of a man that commands leadership. And I'm not saying that because I want Thomas Brown to be the next head coach. All right,
Hmm. That's
I would just like to get his take on being a guy that played for him. What type of man is he in terms of leadership? Me personally, I've always been a fan of Vrabel, and because I think Vrabel is a no nonsense type of guy. I think he could come into the building and let it be known that, hey, this is what it's going to be. Either you with it or you're not. It's just that simple. So,
Mike. Who you
hey,
want to? Mike, who would you like to see? Who are your candidates?
Ooh, candidate. I think right now I have three, maybe four. I think three right now that I'm strongly with, and that's Joe Brady, Ben Johnson, and Vrabel. Kind of, I like the two offensive guys just because that's honestly the big rumor is that it sounds like the Bears are looking offensively with their head coach, which I don't got a problem with it. I don't got a problem with it. Ben Johnson, obviously, the shiny toy. I do have questions about him, though. I have questions about how will his offense look when he doesn't have the best offensive line in football and two all-pro running backs in the backfield with that as well. So I have questions about how he can scheme that with maybe an average line and DeAndre Swift and the other offensive counterparts in Chicago. Joe Brady's been very successful in Buffalo. He took over late last year, and ever since Buffalo's looked really good. Josh Allen's the MVP favorite. I mean, a lot of that's Josh Allen, but he's had a really successful offense in Buffalo. And then Vrabel's a culture guy. I don't know if that's what Chicago needs. I don't know if they need offense. Do they need a culture guy? It really sounds like they need a culture guy after looking at Sunday in San Francisco because there is no culture. There is no culture with
gotcha.
this team right now. That's what Vrabel is. He's like the Tomlin. He's not going to call plays. He's not going to be in one side of the ball room over the other offense or defense. And when Vrabel's been head coach, look at his coordinator hires. He hired Arthur Smith, who has Russell Wilson playing out of his mind right now, and Matt LaFleur. Matt LaFleur, head coach of the Green Bay
Yeah.
Packers, was his other coordinator hire. He's got a nose for offense. That's why I'd like him as well. Those three are my top
Yeah.
three.
Yeah, and
Well,
I'm gonna tell
hey,
you something.
everybody, go
Go
ahead,
ahead,
Darius.
Dish.
Now we got to wrap it up.
Okay, I'm gonna
All right.
tell
Well,
you something, Mike. When you see guys getting blown, when you see the guys getting blown out, and they
mhm,
get a garbage time touchdown, to go to dancing in the end zone, or you see a guy doing a blowout, get an interception, and want to celebrate the interception, that's how you know that.
Yep, there's problems.
Yeah,
yeah. Well, hey, I want to thank everybody that participated in the chat tonight. Want to thank you guys very much for chiming in and tuning in with us tonight. We will be back next Thursday again. We're going to get ready to head on out of here, but I want to thank everybody that was in the chat, especially those that donated some funds our way. Really appreciate it. Remy,
Yep.
thank you very much.
Thanks a
Brian,
lot.
thank you so much.
thanks for everybody in the chat.
Chris and V Dog and everybody in the chat, thank you so very much. We do appreciate you guys. We will look forward to seeing you guys next week, Thursday as well. Tune in. If you haven't gotten your Christmas shopping done, get out there and get your Christmas shopping done. What are you waiting for? With that being said, y'all, hey, this is the Bishop. We had Darius. We had Mike. This is the Chicago Sports Podcast. Hey, y'all, until next week, peace.
Peace out. Bear down.